This is the anterior view of the overhead squat I will be analyzing. As my body approaches the floor is the loading phase. The unloading phase is the period in which my body moves back to the standing position. You can see that both of my feet are externally rotated. In this compensation, the lateral gastrocnemius is a muscle that abnormally shortens, and the medial gastrocnemius is a muscle that is abnormally lengthened. In the unloading phase, both of my halluces are lifting off the ground. In this compensation, the extensor hallucis muscle is abnormally shortening, and the flexor hallucis longus muscle is abnormally lengthening. Both of my hips are externally rotated, which is causing my knees to move outward, as shown here. The piriformis is abnormally shortened in this compensation, and the gluteus maximus is abnormally lengthened. Both of my arms fall forward, indicating overactive latissimus dorsi muscles and underactive middle and lower trapezius muscles. Lastly, from the anterior view, you see my shoulders are internally rotated, causing my palms to face forward. In this compensation, the subscapularis is abnormally shortened, and the infraspinatus is abnormally lengthened. This is the right lateral view of the overhead squat I will be analyzing. As I move into the loading phase of my squat, my knees and hips both flex. When my body runs out of motion, which you can see here, my lumbar spine also flexes to compensate for my lack of movement elsewhere. In this compensation, the hamstrings over the hip are overactive and the erector spinae muscles are underactive. When I reach the top of the unloading phase, my lumbar spine goes into extension. My body also displays an excessive forward lean. The hip flexor complex is being abnormally shortened in this compensation, and the erector spinae muscles are being abnormally lengthened. In the anterior view, I mentioned my arms falling forward or anteriorly. As you can see, my arms fall forward 40 degrees past the point which they should be lined up, which is right in line with my ears. This is the left lateral view of the overhead squat I will be analyzing. The loading phase of my squat took about 1.5 seconds. The unloading phase took about 1.4 seconds, for a rough total of a little under 3 seconds for the slow squat. When moving through the loading phase, the body should be able to achieve at least 90 degrees of knee flexion. However, I only have 82 degrees of knee flexion. In this position, the quadriceps muscle over the knee are overactive and not allowing my knee to achieve as much flexion as it needs. Because of this, the hamstring muscles at the knee are not able to contract as much due to the quadriceps not lengthening properly in order to allow my knee to get further into flexion. In the right lateral view, I noted some compensations which are also seen from the left lateral view. These include the lumbar extension, lumbar flexion, excessive forward lean, and the arms falling forward. The left arm is further forward, which could indicate a tighter latissimus dorsi muscle and an abnormally lengthened trapezius muscle. This is the posterior view of the overhead squat I will be analyzing. As you can see, my feet are externally rotated. I mentioned this compensation in the anterior view. However, in the posterior view, you can count the number of toes visible on the lateral side of the lower leg. This tells you which foot is more externally rotated. On my left side, you can see 4 toes. On the right side, you can only see 2 toes. This means that my left foot is more externally rotated than my right. My right knee seems to be more unstable throughout my squat. The instability could be caused by an abnormal lengthening of the quadriceps muscles over the knee and an abnormal shortening of the hamstring muscles. I also list slightly to my left, as you can see, the left leg crosses over the yellow lines of the box, and the right leg spaces more from the right side of the box, meaning my body has shifted over to the left side. As I mentioned in previous views, the left arm is more forward than the right arm. You can see that there is almost one whole block of difference between my left and right hands.